You know the update's gonna be dog shit when a YouTuber who's been dormant for almost a year is coming out to talk shit about it. My name is Sealsoft, and this is Warthunder Summer Update Heavy Cavalry, and it's not good. It's really not good. Today I'll be covering the problem with premium editions, the Abrams problem, which has been going on for years now. I'll be covering the broken-ass cast weapons that really don't have a space in the game yet, and I'll be covering the Russian bias problem. Just stay tuned, okay? I got a lot of things to talk about today. Okay, let's talk about the F-14D. This thing is just, it was handled so poorly. You're paying $80 for a flight model that's just okay at its battle rating. You get a slightly better radar than the BCAT, but let's be honest, that won't change much. Your weaponry is mostly the same as the BCAT, and you get 640 BOL pods. That's it. You're paying $80 for a ever so slightly changed radar and BOL pods. So we can establish this plane is obviously a cash grab. Combined with the new Senai Maidens packs, it's pretty obvious Gajin is running low in the money department, as we didn't fucking ask for new Senai Maidens, and people wanted the F-14D, but nobody wanted it as a premium that was copy-paste. If you wanted your copy-paste premium, it was called the F-14BU, and you could have added that, but no, you didn't. You had to make a completely unique variant of the Tomcat a premium. Why? Another thing. Gaijin is very selectively realistic when it comes to adding weapons on vehicles. Let me take, for example, the Russian KH-38 missile. A missile that has been proven to not exist and never been employed in combat, and yet Russia receives it. Really? Are we serious? Okay, so obviously, if Russia can receive a fake missile, then the F-14D can receive two missiles, the AIM-120 and the AIM-7P, that it was compatible with, right? Right, guys? Right? No! No, we can't do that either! One more thing. Gaijin has given Russia and China perfectly viable premiums, and I've played with one of those premium Su-30s. It's no joke. Do not sleep on the Venezuelan Su-30 Mark II. That thing is a threat. Especially if you're fighting people who don't know what they're doing. It is a threat. But I digress. The F-14D as a premium, I mean, get it if you want. It's a Tomcat, but I don't think it's going to be worth the $80 when the plane is already in the tech tree. And an event version is so much better than it too, the IRAF. We can't forget about the IRAF. Now for the next thing. Senai Maidens. Senai Maidens is just, I think, one of the worst things to happen to Warthunder. It's something that nobody really asked for and only appeals to a certain audience, but it's not really a series either. They just want to get you to spend $70 for a Gunner tank with this skin. Now, let me get one thing out of the way before I talk about this further. I'm a huge anime fan. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Evangelion are some of my favorite works of anime, but this is just a horrible misuse of the trope, or the art style, or whatever. This is awful. Hold on, let's look at the trailer. I'm gonna rewind the trailer. You see that? First 5 seconds, and there's already feet. I honestly don't know what's worse either. The fact that Gaijin makes these things, or the fact that there are specimens out there who purchase them. For your information, this is the second round of Senai Maidens tanks. Please, please don't buy these. I do not want to see more. I know many people who do not want to see more. Hell, what happens when they have to make an Israeli Senai Maiden? What happens then, Gaijin? What are you gonna do? Also, I beg of you to forgive me for what I'm about to show you, but here's another horrid moment in this trailer. That's just softcore porn. That is, quite frankly, just softcore porn. Why is this in my jet game? Just to summarize this section, don't buy the new premiums this update, don't buy Senai Maidens, don't give this company money until they can fix their fucking game, which leads me to my next point. Along with the Heavy Cavalry update and its many premiums, we'll also be receiving lots of new air-to-ground weapons this update. I'll throw them on screen so you can see them. Okay, I'll be going from front to back on this. So, GBU 53 Stormbreaker, or Stormbreaker. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Stormbreaker. Props to Gajin. I mean, the United States close air support has been really crippled as of recently. I mean, the Maverick compared to the Cage 38 and the Spice 250 was just not doing it for anyone. So we finally have a decent cast weapon for the United States. Now I understand people are going to start crying, oh my god, close air support's bad, but as someone who plays the United States, they needed a weapon to compete, especially against Russian anti-air. Now I'm not going to do much talking about the AGM-84, because let's be honest, anti-ship missiles just take up space in the files. Does anyone want these? And they're not even useful in a game mode. There's no top-tier naval yet, or 11.7 naval that you could realistically use these missiles in. I mean, cool, we got more weapons to take up the files. Nice. Moving on to the arms. The Russian one's the best. It's powered by fucking ramjets. If you don't know what a ramjet is one of the strongest engines you can put on something that flies. It is so fucking fast, and they didn't even need it either. The Cage 38 could have been a pseudo-harm for them, or a pseudo-anti-radiation missile, but no. I'm also going to bring up the fact that Russia is the only nation that can reliably defend itself against anti-radiation missiles. Looking at you, Panzer SMSV. Yeah, you, fuck you. I don't understand why they added all these new arms and shit, when obviously the game mode they're supposed to be used in, ground battles, is not really ready for arms at all. You know, I'm sorry, I'm gonna break off into a little subsection here to discuss this. This is just too ridiculous. The game modes haven't fucking changed. For air battles, fly straight, fire a missile, hope to not get hit by a missile, go home, reload, fire more missiles. Like, there's no sauce, there's no fun, there's no air to ground, you know, kill the airbase, blah blah blah. And don't bring up Nuclear Thunder, because they fucked up Nuclear Thunder too in the new update. People are complaining about it because the SPA is so broken, it's just a glorified version of Air RB. Ground RB suffers from a very similar fate, but it's like 20 times worse than Air RB, because all the maps are fucking pint-sized. And you're doing that with modern weaponry and modern equipment that can go up to 100 miles, and you're using that in such a small range. Like, no, we need something bigger than this. It doesn't work. And what do they try and do? You know, instead of fixing the core game modes and, you know, making the core gameplay better so that there's a reason to hop on the game still? Infantry. What the fuck, dude? Fix the game first. Now, I personally don't think infantry's a horrible idea, but the game in its current state, in its raw, most pure form, is more or less unplayable. Especially at higher tiers. At low tiers, you know, you can do the primitive shit because the vehicles are closer range. You know, everything happened in more small, condensed battles, not the dynamic campaigns that modern vehicles are used in. Now, something I think Warthunder should take inspiration from is things like DCS contention and DCS PvE servers, because there are things actively happening that you have to stop. Or there's PvE targets that are worth killing because if you don't kill them, you'll lose ground. They could easily just copy that. It's already there. I don't know if there's something up with the game engine, but they don't want to do that. But yeah, for game modes and weapons, that's my 2 cents. The game isn't ready for any of these yet, and we need more quality of life fixes and general content, not vehicles, game modes, new scenarios where you can play artillery, and scenarios where playing SPA isn't pointless because there's AI planes that will bomb you, shit like that. But I digress. We need more core features before we can keep adding vehicles like that. And if you keep adding vehicles before features, you're eventually going to run out of interesting vehicles. You can already kind of see that now. I mean, there's a lot of copy and paste. You see France? They have more F-16s than the United States. But now I'll be going into possibly one of the most debated things, or not really debated, but, you know, Gaijin versus the community. That being... Now, before I start this section, let me just confess, I don't know much about tanks. I am not a huge tank boy. I have always been more of a plane guy. I don't know much about tanks. However, I've been following this for years on end now. I'm not a huge fan of the Abrams, but I do think it's pretty cool. And it's fair to say that Gajin has been fucking over the Abrams, whether directly or indirectly, for quite a couple of years now. The one I've been hearing about the most is the hull armor. Apparently the hull armor got fixed this update though, but I've been hearing it's been fixed, it hasn't been fixed, they buffed it, they in-buffed it. What I do know, however, though, is that the inner armor around the fuel tanks was nerfed to 9mm, which I don't know why they did that. Nobody knows why they did that, but they did it anyways. Another problem with the armor being the turret ring. In real life, the Abrams has, depending on its variant, of course, around 250 to 400mm of protection over there. In Warthunder, though, that protection is somewhere around 40 to 80mm. Most of the Abrams can be easily penned by the BMPT, which I know is very frustrating for Abrams players. Another thing that has been very bad about the Abrams as of recent is the new round type, the M829A3, which is a type of shell specifically built for defeating Russian Contact 5 era. Now, the reason this shell is kind of iffy is because most of the Russian tanks with Contact 5 era you won't even meet if you're playing the Abrams that has this version of the shell. The shell also has a little bit more penetration than its contemporary, but at an exchange, the contemporary falls a little bit more. So the shell, the new version, causes a little bit less damage. So you kinda gotta pick your poison. Oh wait, no, you can't even do that. They took away the V2 version of the shell. You can only use the V3 on newer versions. Now, let's loop back to the armor problem for just a little bit, okay? Gajin has been openly ignoring sources and bug reports about the Abrams armor being bad. At one point, before the update of course, they put out a whole devblog basically just to say, hey, fuck you, we know the tank's different, but we'll give you some heat round protection, okay? So they buffed the whole armor ever so slightly, which is somewhat of a step in the right direction, but it's not really enough to be noticeable, and you can still be frontally penned by the BMPT. Thanks, Gajin. Now, it's pretty obvious at this point that Gajin has something out against the Abrams, or something is stopping them from buffing it, because there's very obvious changes in the tank. They just refuse to acknowledge them no matter what, or if they have to do something, it's minimal, and Russia has to receive something to counter these buffs, right? Well, they did. Russian ERA was buffed, which conveniently leads into my next point, and the final point of this video. Hey, so just to clear things up, this is post-editing Sealsoft. The V2 shell was added back to most versions of the Abrams. You do not have to use the V3. You can use the V2 as well. Okay, I'll be kicking off this section with a full list of Russian changes from the heavy cavalry update alone. The Yak-130 with TV-guided missiles at 9.0. The J-22M1A, which is a Serbian pack vehicle. I believe it's for around $60. It also gets TV-guided missiles, but at 9.7. The T-90M, which is a vehicle with a APS system, was just added with the Arena system. A new MiG, the MiG-29K, which I think's pretty cool. I'm a MiG person. The relict air blocks were supposedly bug fixed, but I believe this is a buff. A bug that caused the actual protection of the era inside blocks to be slightly lower than it should. Previously, due to a bug, the plate on the rear side of the era block wasn't being accounted for. So they buffed the era. Some earlier Russian helicopters were buffed. They can now carry up to 4 simultaneous air-to-ground missiles by default. The MiG-29 flight model across all of its variants has been improved with the roll rate, but I'm not complaining. The MiG-29 needed that. And to top it off, Russia was given the strongest anti-radiation missile this update. Okay, to kick this off. Isn't it kind of suspicious that even though this update was mostly Abrams focused, Russia still has to find some way to be relevant? And I'm not talking about the air tree, I'm talking specifically about ground here. Why was this era buff needed? Russia didn't need another top tier tank either, the T-90M Arena. This could have easily just been an upgrade for the base T-90M, but no, you had to give them a whole nother tank for their already completely busted lineup. Outside of this update alone, Russia has still been eating suspiciously good, especially with the addition of the BMPT series. Yeah. The BMPT was the poster child for the update Line of Contact, which was the last update of 2025. And yeah, since Christmas 2025, it's fair to say this vehicle has been terrorizing NATO players. The BMPT is equipped with 2 anti-tank guided missiles and 2 autocannons. Now, these autocannons have received 2 nerfs in the span of their existence. One of them being you can only fire one of the autocannons at a time, and the other nerf being the bullet spread. The BMPT in real life fires at such a velocity that the barrels will wobble at high speeds. Now, the part that really pisses many people off about the BMPT, and many people believe that the BMPT is under-tiered. Let's use the RDFLT and HSTVL as an example. The RDFLT is at 12.0, and the HSTVL is also at 12.0. Both of these vehicles are perfectly competent vehicles to be able to use at top tier. They have a really good shell that you can pen almost any MBT frontally with, and they're overall really small, solid vehicles you can use. The BMPT, both of its variants, upon being added, were both 10.7. And for that short span, they were at 10.7. Oh boy, that was not a fun time to be playing 10.7. Now, they were up-tiered recently to 11.7, but they're still really cracks at 11.7. It's fair to say that these vehicles both would be very competent and possibly still be really good at top tier along with the T90 and T72. But no, they're just hanging around 11.7, which means you can still see these vehicles at 10.7. So if you're playing a Leopard 2 and you see a BMPT, or you're playing an Abrams KVT, or just the M1 Abrams in general, you can still encounter the BMPT and you can still get skinned alive by this thing. It's not fair. Now the last gripe, and don't worry, I'll get through this. This is the last bit of BMPT slander I have. There is a version of the BMPT that is premium. I don't know if I said that already, but I'm saying it now. And this vehicle is too strong to be put in the hands of people with money. You can put any new player in a tank from Great Britain, or any NATO nation for that matter, and they will do really bad. But if you put them in a Russian tank, they will do just fine, even if they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And the BMPT is perfect with this example. If you look up any content creator and them playing the BMPT, they will get nukes. They will get easy 10-kill games, especially Spookston. Look at Spookston's video of him in the BMPT. He says it's disgusting, and it's true. This vehicle is way too good to be put in the hands of new players. Russia, while not being the main focus of this update, has been the focus somehow alternatively with the T90M and the Yak 130, and they're both good vehicles. You know the T90M was going to be good, but the Yak 130's busted. TV guided bombs at 9.0 with a really good flight model, and it's nothing to be messed with either. The thing's a really big dogfighter, but yeah, they still receive their OP vehicles, even though the Abrams and I believe NATO was supposed to be the central focus of this update. So yeah, Russian bias I don't think is something up for debate. I do think it exists. You should think it exists too, unless you play Russia, of course, then you can fucking be delusional. But yeah, this is definitely something that exists, and it needs to be addressed. Okay, to wrap this up, I think the direction Warthunder is going in right now, it's okay. I think it's just mediocrity. If they want this game to be truly phenomenal and balanced like they say it is, and esports ready, there's a lot of things that have to be fixed. For example, listening to the NATO player base when it comes to fixing shit. Adding good maps and game modes. We can't just see the same slop over and over and over again. We need dynamic ways to play the game. Like, please, I'm praying that Nuclear Thunder gets fixed, because that April Fool's update version of Nuclear Thunder, the escalation mode with the B-52 and Tu-95, that was some of the most fun I ever had playing on War Thunder. I really wanted to make a video about that, but I just didn't, because I got lazy. I'm sorry. But I want that version of War Thunder. I want that version that they dangled in front of us, but then took away by fucking up Nuclear Thunder. I want Gajin to not put out Gunner slop tanks and put out tanks that, you know, mean something. Like, copy and paste tanks are fine. Like the Puma U14, that's a good premium. I'm not mad at them for putting out the Puma U14. It's a normal Puma, but with a little bit of lore and a little bit of changes. Those armor, those little wood pallets, they won't do anything to impact gameplay. That's the kind of premium this game wants. I have no problem with copy and paste premiums with a little bit of lore whatsoever. The M1 KVT, the Puma U14, those are fine. I hope they stop using Gunner bait to sell tanks. I hope they stop using AI to make that shit too, because, come on, you're a $1 billion company, you're selling premiums like there's no tomorrow, and you can't hire artists. Seriously? Like, come on, you make everything with Gemini now? Because surprisingly, they found out that a lot of other things were made with AI too. The profile pictures were made with AI, a bunch of camos were made with AI. And I understand it saves money and it saves cost, but it's not a good look, especially in this day and age. AI is not a very light topic anymore. Now, regarding the player count, I know that's been brought up as an argument a lot, but it's June. People aren't sitting on their asses all summer like they are during winter. The player count really isn't a valid argument to make. I'm just saying that now. Because watch, in August and September, it'll skyrocket again because it's cold, people are back in their homes, people are playing Warthunder. But, yep, that's about all I got. Managed to make a solid 20 minutes out of this, which is, I think, one of my longer productions. Is this my longer one? I think this might be my longest one. But regardless, I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I'd appreciate if you commented. If you want to talk shit about my video, please talk shit about my video. This is my first time making something in a long time, so I'd appreciate any feedback whatsoever. But yeah, thank you if you sat all the way through this. I appreciate you. Or even if you just put it on the background while you do your work or you play the game itself, I appreciate you. Thank you.